Hey everybody, welcome to the Song Revolution podcast, brought to you by Nashville Christian Songwriters. Nashville Christian Songwriters exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. I'm John Chisholm, and this podcast exists to bring you valuable songwriting insights, inspiration, interviews, and just all around good fun with some of the greatest songwriters, producers, arrangers, artists, and creatives, and beyond. You can find out a whole lot more about us at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. Hey everybody, John Chisholm here with my buddy Peter Hartzell.
Hello.
Doing a little Facebook Live. We're actually doing a podcast. It's going to be a very special podcast for the next 20, 30 minutes, however we feel like we can do this. And we're broadcasting to a couple of Facebook Lives. Our Successful Christian Songwriters group, which has about 5,000 plus members from all over the world, as well as our fan page. There's Gene. Hey, Gene, good to see you. So I'll be saying hi to people along the way as they pop in because this is so fun. So Peter has a company called Treehouse Media, and Peter's going to be dropping some value content. That's a great logo, by the way.
Thank you.
I really like that.
I had a really good friend of mine, a guy named Elliot Park, who's also an artist, like a musician, having some good success with children's music, and he's a killer artist, like designer, graphic designer. And I had this idea for a treehouse, and I shared it with him, and he drew it for me. And then a couple weeks later, he came back and he was like, he showed me this picture from his childhood and said, "This tree with this ladder and everything, this is what I looked at from my back porch in Texas for like 10 years."
Fun.
And it was in his subconscious. So he designed the logo around the subconscious memory of this treehouse in his backyard. So it's so cool. Yeah,
I love
really
it.
cool.
I love it, man. I'm kind of a logo guy. And you can see Peter is sporting our NCS T-shirt, which I love. I love our logo
Very
as
cool.
well.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, Peter's going to be bringing dropping some content on you guys here momentarily. But I wanted to just bring a couple of big announcements for us.
Yeah.
Peter's just coming on with us as our podcast producer, and we're making a shift in our release day.
Yeah.
We've been Saturdays for
like 2 years almost.
Almost 2 years. Yeah. April 1 will be 2 years, no fooling. And it's been an awesome thing for these 2 years. All the artists that we've had on, all the iconic industry people. Like we just recently had Greg Nelson, who he basically defined CCM music for so long. Yeah. Best of the best. I think he's got 7 Grammys. 20 dubs? It was a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, and he just basically defined the genre there for a couple of decades. And we have just last week we released Daryl Harris, who was my boss at Star Song Media, who developed Petra, Newsboys, White Heart. Who else? Twyla Paris was huge. For him, and iconic people that you might not know about, people that really helped bring us to where we are today. Yeah. And so anyway, we love our podcast. We've got some great announcements. We're in dialogue with some new sponsors, some people that we're going to really bring value to the conversation that we're having with all of you guys and trying to help you get where you want to go with your songwriting. So that's kind of our big announcement about the podcast is we're moving to Mondays.
To Mondays, and I think Mondays are great because, you're starting out your week with, I'm sure there's probably a lot of church podcasts that launch Sermon of the Week on Monday too. So we don't want to get caught in the clutter of that. But for those of you that are already kind of paying attention and subscribe, and for new subscribers, we want to be able to feed your Mondays with a new conversation and something that's going to really encourage you and spark new ideas, creativity, and get you excited at the beginning of your week. Some people go into the new week with dread and fear, which is horrible. And we want to be a source of encouragement and joy. And, while you're commuting to work or working out in the morning or whatever you do, starting off your day or in the middle of your workday, to be able to listen to some encouraging conversations with, like you're talking about, these amazing artists and moguls in the industry that have, that are not just successful, but really great people. And
absolutely.
I mean, most of the podcasts that I've listened to from you, John, have been really just like the conversations are really great, but the people are awesome people too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's important that we're not just bringing in, someone that's just famous for the sake of trying to boost our numbers, but actually bringing in really quality people that have a voice and something to say, something to share. And that's why I'm excited to be on board and helping out with this. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really it. People are surprised sometimes when they encounter NCS and they're like, you're not just glitz and glamour and biz, showbiz. And we're really not. I mean, I'm a pastor, for crying out loud. It's like, that's what I want to do, is love on our people, help them to really move down the field toward what they want to accomplish. And a lot of times, there are emotional things going on, there are life circumstances, and, we bring all we are to the songwriting process. Yeah. And so for me, it's about a total transformation in who you are. It's not just about, hey, let's crank out some hits. Yeah. I mean, we'd all like to crank out some hits, but it's really about the whole thing. So, I have a question. I don't know if maybe this would be helpful to us. There's my buddy Shalom. Love you, man. Talked with Shalom yesterday. He's an amazing talent. I love Shalom. Can't wait for you to meet Shalom.
Cool.
But I'm wondering, because we've had kind of an open format with the Song Revolution podcast, because what I'm always going for in these episodes is to try to get down into who these people are.
Sure.
And it's hard to do that in a half hour.
30 minutes, yeah.
But I know that a lot of times people, their time is limited. Like you said, they're doing a workout. So, I'd love to hear from anyone who feels like, 30 minutes would be better than 45 minutes or an hour. So if you guys have any suggestions or anything that you feel would help you, I think Peter and I are wide open to formatting, or, maybe one or two podcasts a month. Maybe we break them up. I don't know. Peter, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of podcasts out there that follow different formats. So some podcasts are conversational in nature, and they kind of lend themselves to more of an open format. And so some episodes would be 20 or 30 minutes. Some might be an hour or two. And it really does kind of depend on who the guest is and what the topic is and all that. My experience tells me that these kinds of conversations tend to kind of fit better in a 20 to 30 minute time frame, because it's easy to kind of digest and all that, but it does leave stuff on the table. There's opportunity for things to get missed, or context, or things like that. So, sometimes an hour-long format is better for conversational, but as a viewer or listener, it may mean that you're not able to consume the whole thing in one sitting, and then are you going to be able to come back to it again or not? And a lot of times the answer is, I want to get back to that podcast, I just don't have time. Or, I get into my week, and then sure enough, next week rolls around, there's a new episode. I'm already 5 episodes behind.
Yeah.
I've done that before with podcasts, and then I just kind of stop listening altogether, which is unfortunate. So we want to create a format and something that provides really, really high value content in a really easy to absorb and interact with kind of format and timeline. Without leaving too much on the table.
Yeah.
So 30 minutes, 45 minutes sometimes maybe is good. There have been some podcasts I've done where it was such a good conversation and we couldn't stop it. Even 30 or 45 minutes was just too short, so we had to go an hour or more, and so we broke it into 2 parts. Right. And we can do that. That's a good question for you guys, the listeners. Yeah. Is that something that you guys are open to? If there was a podcast that went, an hour long and we broke it into 2 parts, is that something you'd like to hear, or would you kind of get sick of hearing the same person for 2 weeks in a row or something?
Now,
like that?
For our 50th episode, we're about to launch our 105.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so for our 50th, we broke up an hour-and-a-half conversation that I had for our 3rd podcast.
Okay.
With John Mays, who's the founder and director of A&R at Centricity, with Lauren Daigle, Johnny Diaz, Jason Gray, who came by our intensive a couple of weeks ago. And we broke it up because it was so long. But John and I go back 3 years.
Can't do that in an hour.
We were joking around and having fun, and we could have edited, but the title of that podcast, it's our most downloaded podcast, and it's called making it in the Christian music industry. So I titled it right?
Yeah,
We got the title right on that one. But it's got like 7,000 downloads on it.
That's so cool.
It's crazy.
Well, and that tells you what people are interested in is knowing, how do I do this? And I mean, that's why you're following this. If you're watching Facebook Live, welcome. And that's why you're watching this, is because you want to know, you want to hear from someone that's had lots of success, that knows what it takes to get successful. But also, how do I do it with, keep a head on my shoulders and do it sustainably and not get caught in the shuffle of all the stuff that we know comes along with the music industry and songwriting and then even church life adds another layer to that, and Christianity and things like that. Music is hard enough, art is hard enough as it is, and then you add other layers to it, it just gets complicated. So good on you for being diligent and wanting to dive into some mentorship with someone that's had a lot of success, that knows what he's talking about. And again, that's why I'm excited to be on here, involved with the podcast.
Well, we're so glad you're here. And I know in a minute, I'm going to make a couple more announcements, and then we're going to get into some content that will directly affect you as songwriters, singer-songwriters, even worship leaders. I mean,
totally.
I think that what I know Peter wants to share is going to be incredibly impactful for anyone listening to the podcast audio-wise or watching us Facebook Live. So let me make a couple of quick announcements, just real quick. Yeah. We're standing in a place called Label Live, their showcase room. I'm going to spin the computer around a little bit because we're broadcasting to our successful Christian songwriters and to our NCS page. Yep. This is a great venue for our NCS weekend intensives. That's this little stage behind us. And it's a fantastic room. It will seat about 40, and that's the limit for these nice little tables. I'll pick this up real quick. Okay, so we've got these nice little four tops, great stage, great audio, great video. It's just an amazing place. People like Chris Tomlin do their shows, work on their shows here. All kinds of people work on their stuff here. This is a production company, and we rent the space for our weekends. Our next one is April 25, 6, 7. We've already confirmed that we're going to be invited back into Centricity Music for a barbecue dinner with John Mays. 3 weeks ago, Jason Gray stopped by for about an hour and a half and played a bunch of new songs off his new record, and it was amazing. It was just a crazy good. I can't guarantee that a Centricity artist like Lauren Daigle is going to stop by, but what do they say? I can neither confirm nor deny. Right. So it's like, you never know. I know, you never know. But John invited Jason over, and he just did a crazy great job. Yeah, that's awesome. He's writing 80 songs for his new record.
Oh, my gosh.
80. They've already written about 60, and they're going to write about 20 more. So it's going to be a great record. I love Jason. So this is where we have our NCS weekend intensives. They're limited to 40 people. We know they're going to sell out. We've got a new thing now where you can advance register, and if you go ahead and register in advance with $200, you save $100. So we're launching our new landing page today on our site. You can go to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com, read all about it. And I've already confirmed John Mays and a dinner at Centricity, which is you can't walk into a record label, and meet people and hang out with people that are
and have good barbecue
and have great Martin's barbecue. Yeah. And then I've confirmed Craig Adams, who is with Lifeway.com, Lifeway Worship, sorry. And he is a creative director, publishes hundreds of songs. Yeah. And to get access to these people is priceless, right? Yeah. And then who else have I confirmed? I'm going blank. Robert Till, who's our business partner, amazing teacher, clinician. I'm teaching. There's somebody else, and I'll think of it as we go. Anyway, April 25, 6, 7, we're announcing also our entire year. That's going to be on the website starting today. Yeah. We're going to do another intensive July and October, and we'll be announcing the clinicians and the guest artists that are going to be at that. I'm talking to Cindy Morgan, Jenny Owens, who've been with us in the past, and some fantastic other clinicians and people that you're going to love. Incredible value. Shalom's been there. Other people watching have been at the intensive. And then the other thing that we're announcing is March 4th is our next boot camp, which is our 8-week online intensive personal mentoring and coaching boot camp. And God's called me to this, you guys. This isn't just like, hey, let's have a business around Chisholm. This is my ministry and my calling. And I'm pouring my heart and my success and my life, 30 plus years of getting songs recorded and placed. And I've got 2 songs on hold right now with, Kenna Turner West. Yeah, that's who it is. Yeah, bam. Kenna's a co-writer, and Kenna was a smash hit, Peter, at this last intensive.
That's so cool.
She's had over 30 number 1 songs and a whole bunch of others recorded, and we're co-writing. And we wrote 2 songs a few months back with our buddy David Baroni, and they're both on hold for artists right now. And
very cool.
So my whole existence right now is to download into you through the podcast, through our membership, through the intensives, through the boot camp, what you need to be successful. And I'm looking for 4 people who are ready to go. You got to be ready to rock. This it's not cheap, but it is amazing. Yeah. It is like it's the stuff, man. If you really want to ramp up to a commercial songwriting level, this is the way to do it. And I say that having served dozens of people so far, and some people getting airplay, getting their records out on radio, people that are in co-writing relationships and artist development deals. This stuff's working. So, but you have to be willing to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to do that, I'm looking for 4 people. Enrollment is open now. Go to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. Look for the boot camp link. Apply. Well, it's right there. It's a nice banner on the website. Yep. I love our website.
Yeah, it's so cool.
And then fill out an application. You and I get on a phone call for about an hour and a half. We really dig in to see if this is your next right step, and then we get to work. March 4th, we're only 3 weeks out. So those are my big announcements. And so, if you need any more information, hit me up here. We'll get on a phone call. I'm happy to talk with you guys about anything and everything we're doing. So now let's drop some content on these guys.
Absolutely.
So Peter is a very accomplished. He's an audio engineer. He's a producer. What else are you?
Content marketer is like the easiest way to put it. I love making content and getting it to people.
Yeah, and he's great at it. He's got some big clients. He's doing a really great job. TreehouseMediaCo.com.
TreehouseMediaCo.com. Yep.
So you can go read about who he's working with there. And you do some corporate stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I found that I'm a musician, I'm a worship leader, I'm a producer and songwriter and all that. So, but I'm also a business owner. I own my own business, and I went to school for business and marketing and media arts, and then also audio production, and then also was at the House of Prayer in Kansas City doing worship stuff. So I've kind of worn a lot of different hats, and it's helped me to kind of get a well-rounded kind of perspective and approach things from a cohesive sort of manner, rather than just like attacking it from just a creative side or just a production side or just all business. So I think it's a good relationship because you kind of think the way I do. It's a cool thing.
I think so. I think so. A nice balance there, and looking for great things. I just love the way he thinks about the conversation. The conversation not only of something you're trying to get in front of people, but the value.
Why?
Why? The why behind
why are you doing it?
what we're doing, and we exist to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. Mm-hmm. And in 2 years, God's given us a global reach. We have people that have flown in for our intensives from Ireland, Norway, New Zealand, for crying out loud, and all over Canada. We're popular with the Canadians, and we've had some people from Texas, so that's kind of far
awesome.
away. But,
yeah, kind of.
So all right. So to bring our listeners some great value today, we've been making some announcements talking about us, but what would be, from your perspective, as someone who knows how to build value and a platform and the why behind everything. Yeah. Is there one thing that you feel if our listeners would just tweak this in their minds and change their mindset, change their perspective, what do you think would bring the most value to their songwriting career, their singer-songwriter career, or whatever they're about? Do you have any comment on
that's such a good question. I think I think that the first thing is being teachable and being open to growth, and which, again, if you're watching this or if you're listening to the podcast, you're on the right track because you're wanting to be teachable. You're going to a place where you're going to get help and all that. So that's the first step I would say, is just be teachable. Never get to this point where you think you've arrived, because as soon as you get to that point, you'll realize you don't know what you're talking about, and you kind of have to start over. The second thing, kind of in that vein, is again, you kind of mentioned the why. Why am I doing this? Are you doing it just to become popular, famous, make lots of money? Or are you really doing it because it's like the core of who you are? Like you wake up in the morning and you have a song that you have to write. And is that manifesting in I'm going out to write with other people, or I'm thinking, as I'm driving in my car, I've got a song in my head, or, as I'm working out, or as I'm going through my day, like, is that your drive? Is that at the very core of who you are? And if it is, it's just going to come out organically and naturally. And so if you have your why and you have it clearly defined, and you're approaching it from a really healthy, like, I'm not doing it just to become rich and famous. I'm doing it because this is who I am. Then the key, I would say, to taking it to the next level is consistency. And that is a tough word for a lot of people because it's really easy to get started with something. And I'm a visionary, I'm a creative person, so I love to make stuff. Right. And it's really easy to get ideas going and get excited about an idea and then start. Sometimes it takes a minute to start, but once you do, it's, okay, we got this. But then you hit a hurdle, you hit something, a roadblock, something happens, somebody doesn't like a song you wrote. Somebody that you respect comes to you and says, hey, that's not a very good song. Or, hey, that doesn't sound good, or I don't like that, or whatever. You get discouraged. Something happens in your personal life, and you have to shift your focus from what you were doing to maybe taking care of something that is important in your personal life. And if that stops you in your tracks, then whatever that thing is, a lot of times that is a bigger why. And sometimes those are seasonal, but that's a bigger why. And sometimes you have to shift and pivot and take time to focus on that. But staying true is staying consistent with writing every day, writing with other people, expanding, growing, doing these boot camps, coming to these intensive weekends. Like, John's not joking. These events are not just, here to make John super rich. Like, they take every drop of soul he has left in him to put these things together, to get him out to you. And he really pours himself out to you every step of the way. So you have the absolute best chance at taking something that's already kind of there and growing and turn it into something really amazing. But man, you have to do the work. You have to be consistent. You have to, day after day after day, you wake up, you write. If you're not thinking about songwriting, you're actually working on something, or you're workshopping stuff, or you're reaching out to people and asking for help with growth and different things. And it's the same principle in any discipline. If you're an athlete, if you're into working out, if you're an artist, if you're into writing, anything that's worth doing takes time, and it takes effort
and investment,
big time investment. Nobody that you see, Lauren Daigle didn't win a Grammy just because she just happened to have some good people around her, and
or be passionate, just because she was passionate.
Right. It's been years and years and years of van tours and closet songwriting sessions and writing, and then the right people came into her path, and then there's a progression that happens, but it happens that way on purpose. And that's another thing I would also encourage, kind of tag on to the consistency thing, is don't ever let yourself think with limitations or think too small, because as soon as you set a limitation or something that maybe one day if I could just get here, I promise you'll get there. And that's, if that's your ceiling, if that's really the highest,
right.
Maybe that's not a very high ceiling, and maybe that would be a big disappointment. You get to that point, you're like, wow, man, I shot way too low.
Yeah.
And see and recognize the value in what you have to offer. Because man, like you're writing a song from like your heart, and it's something that you want to share with the world. It's important. Like, if anything, it's just important to you to get that song out, man. Like, even if the song never goes anywhere, like the fact that you have something that you feel like you need to say and share, it's really important. It's part of being creative. We are designed to be creative.
You're preaching it.
We are designed to be creative,
right?
And God created us to be creative.
Right.
There is just like something really, really cool about the fact that we get to be in a community together.
Yeah.
Of songwriters and creatives, that we get to just like have a lot of fun, man. This is fun.
No, right?
It's not just a thing. Like, this is a lot of fun.
Well, I want to go back to two things and before we wrap up here. And, you started with consistency.
Yeah.
And that, boy, I know that very, very well.
Big
with
time.
our podcast here, and with the communications that we have to do almost every day just to help people understand what we're about. It's crazy,
it's
right?
A lot, yeah.
And we have literally spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally, that's not an exaggeration, to bring you Nashville Christian Songwriters, the podcast, our membership, all of the intensives, and our 8-week online boot camp.
Yeah.
It really is an incredible investment on our part to bring those things to people. But it's our joy, and God's provided.
Yep.
And I'm amazed that 2 years into this, we're reaching tens of thousands of people worldwide who are watching what we're doing. And there's some crazy opportunities. People are like, well, how am I ever going to be heard? Well, you know what? We're here.
Yeah.
We're here to hear you. God has raised us up to be kind of that middleman, if you will, between being an aspiring hobbyist and actually connected into the publishing opportunities and record labels and all that kind of thing. But I think, like you were just saying, that's short-sighted, because God's using so much more than He ever has in the very narrow bandwidth of what we know as the industry. And there's some things coming that we're going to be able to start talking about in about a month that are going to blow you away. That are going to be, I mean, there's never been a better time to be a Christian songwriter than right now. And so the consistency, back to what Peter was talking about, is writing consistently with knowledge. You know, people say all you need to do to be successful is just write a lot. And that's only partially true.
Sure.
Because if I've had people come to me and say, well, I've written 1,000 songs, and then I listen to 18 of them, and it's like, oh my gosh, well, if the other, if the other portion, is the other 900 and whatever are like this, well, you need knowledge. You've got to work with knowledge. I mean, an athlete can exercise and work out and go through their routines every single day, but if they're doing it incorrectly, it can actually be an injury. And same with vocalists. If you're singing every day but you're singing incorrectly, you can actually hurt yourself.
Oh yeah.
Now, the damage that comes from writing poorly every day is just that you're never heard. That's kind of the deal. But we say a lot of different things. I really believe that if you have this desire in your heart that God is wanting to say something through you that only you can say. Yep. And the better you learn how to do that, then the more effective you're going to be. And that's why we do what we do. And it's why we're on here consistently to just say, God's laying it out here. Come and get it. And then the other thing was just the investment. Because people are like, well, doesn't God just drop songs on me? Why do I need to learn this? Why do I need to pay NCS to come to an intensive or a membership or a boot camp? And it's like any industry, any professional level industry, you have to pay to learn. You have to go and be discipled by the people who know how to do this. So I'm more confident than ever, you guys, that God is moving through our company. He's moving through you. And if you feel drawn to this, back to our boot camp, launching in 3 weeks, I'm looking for 4 people, only 4, man, that are really ready to go deep into this thing. So go to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com, check that out. Just look for the boot camp link in the nav, and there's a big banner right there. And check out treehouseco.com.
Treehouse Media,
TreehouseMediaco.com.
Yep.
We'll put that in here.
Yeah, sure.
But check that out, because this man has a lot to offer, and excited.
You got to rein me in, man.
I know, right? Well, I'm loving it. But, I just
so
feel like we kind of have a little bro thing going on here right now. But it's like, hey, we have a lot to accomplish. And I love it when I get in touch with someone who's like-minded and really ready to power through this thing and do some great things for the kingdom. So we love you guys. NCS Weekend Intensive, April 25, 6, 7. Boot Camp, March 4th. Podcast ongoing. We're switching to Mondays. Anything else as we wrap up?
No, I mean, I think the most important thing with the podcast specifically is that, if you're already a subscriber, that you share it with all your friends that are already.
Please.
Obviously, we want to grow our listener base, but not just so that we have, big numbers. Like we want to share this with as many people as possible. And, you're here because you find value in this, and the podcast is, it's crazy.
Free.
It's free. And it's not like free. The content is not cheap. It's high quality content on this podcast. So it's something that you can share with your friends, your family. your pastor, your worship pastor, people that, even if they're not necessarily musicians or songwriters.
I know, right?
It's awesome stuff. So.
It is,
and it's fun. Like I said, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So it's just a fun thing to be a part of. Yeah.
Well, Peter, great to have you on the show today,
Thanks for having me.
and we're looking for great things. And welcome aboard the NCS team. We have a growing team that are jumping on here to support this and just see great things happen in the kingdom. Thank you guys for being part of the greater NCS community. We're here for you. You can shoot us an email at info at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. You can post here on the pages. We're available to you. We want to answer your questions. If let me put a plug in here for the NCS membership, because I don't think people understand the value of that either.
It's awesome. Yeah.
We have every month we're offering a 90-minute live masterclass. And on February 23rd, we have the copyright queen herself, Susan Fontaine Godwin, dear friend of mine for many years, since 92. I was actually her boss at Integrity Music for a brief time, and then she started Christian Copyright Solutions, which you can check out her website at christiancopyrightsolutions.com. And on Saturday, February 23rd, we're doing a masterclass for our members, and it's called Copyright: What Every Christian Songwriter Needs to Know Now. So if you're interested in learning about copyright and everything that's involved, from PROs to sync licensing to how do you do this with the Library of Congress? What are whatever those forms are? I forget. But we're going to talk about all that, everything that you need to know to protect your songs. What's happening with streaming? If you put your songs on YouTube or Facebook, what should you have in place to make sure that you're covered? And and really to see some revenue from your songs. What is that all about too? So February 23rd, Susan Fontaine Godwin, a masterclass for the membership. It's only $16.99 a month if you pay by the month, or you can get it down to $14.99 a month, save a couple of bucks if you pay for the year. So check it all out, NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. Peter, thanks again, buddy.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me.
All right, so you guys have a great day. We're going to sign off.
All right.
Love you, mean it. Don't go changing to try to please me. We'll see you. Hey, what a fantastic show today. I hope you caught all the value bombs that were dropped on this one and that you'll begin to immediately incorporate them into your songwriting. You can get even more valuable songwriting tools and inspiration when you join NCS membership. You can become a part of a growing community of songwriters from around the world and tap into some of the most powerful resources available to step you up in your songwriting destiny. Check out NCS membership now at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and get ready for some exponential power to help you fulfill your call to write. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.